Hi, editor of the 50th anniversary videos, Tori Kawasaki here. I have some awesome slash profound clips that I thought deserved their own mini video and not lumped with the long interview videos. Here is Dave Vinton and Kalani for the first mini interview.
I think that's well put. Is there any other memories or funny stories or people that you want to acknowledge? Kind of give you open forum here.
Yeah, I was trying to think what I can say and what I don't have a lot I can't say. Um, let's see, in no particular order, since you can edit this.
Yeah.
I think. Well, I'll just say in general, and I don't know. This is sort of my maturity and everything like that, and some would still question if there's any maturity in me, but um, I really think that Mililani is a special place, and the high school is a special time, and especially when you're a teenager, 14, 15, starting your freshman year or so, I guess. Um, you think you know everything as a teen, and certainly by 16, 17, 18, you think like you know everything, but you don't.
Yeah.
And there's so much life lessons and things that you got to learn,
Right.
and but the high school the high school was an anchor, I think, in providing you the foundation. So the social part is very important because that's you learn to have interact and your friends, which a lot of them you'll keep for life. No, I think Mililani High School as an anchor for what you become and mature is important. From the social part, from your clique of friends and everything like that become lifelong friends, to the classes that influence you in your career, and from math and science. I wasn't necessarily good in math, but the creative stuff of the English side, I think, lends itself to my career in life. So my point is that while you think you know everything your freshman year, for any young people that are watching this video, that take just experience everything from your friendships to the classes, because I think if I have any regret is maybe not stepping out of my comfort zone earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You know me from work, sports, and I love sports. I think if I could go back to do it again, that I would hope that I would have told my younger high school self, go out for every sport. It doesn't matter if you were third or fourth string, but just to make the team, to practice, to be a part of that dynamic, and maybe you never even sniff playing time as far as a starter or anything. But what I see from my work now is I do wish I kind of experienced a little bit more of that, or just tried, because you never want to leave with regrets. And I think even if you fail, in the end, it benefits you, because you don't want to have the regrets like I mentioned, but there's nothing wrong with it. But that's hard when you're a teenager.
Sure.
And you want to make A, or
Yeah.
you're so concerned about looking bad or embarrassing yourself at that time. So I think that's one thing that I reflected on. It's funny, driving here, I was listening to Eddie Money. It popped up first on my playlist, the song "I Want to Go Back," and I thought, well, this is kind of appropriate. I'm
Yeah.
going back to talk to you about my high school time and everything. And there's a line in it that says, you want to go back to that time and just experience it all over again. I don't know if I would. In some ways, it'd be kind of cool as a fly on the wall to see it, but I think I'd amend it by saying I'd like to go back if I could have the maturity that I have now, and also maybe remember what I did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're all playing make believe as far as going back, but that's how I would want it to be. Is if I could go back with the things that I could have done better, or the friendships that I could have, had, or this or that, I would want to have done it that way. But as a whole, I look back at my time at Mililani High School as just an amazing time as far as where it was. It's so funny. You enter high school thinking, I can't wait to get out. And in a lot of ways, when you're older, you think, man, what a awesome time it was.
Yeah.
You were in a sheltered period where you didn't necessarily have to pay bills and all the other adult stuff that you got to do eventually. And that, I think, gave me my foundation for later on UH. And then all that kind of comes together to the person in life that I have now. And I just think I'm very fortunate. Had great teachers. I think Mililani is very blessed with that, the high school, the teachers that stay here a long time. And I think it's hopefully the relationships I had are part of what the generations have now. But that's the things. I don't have much else. I mentioned Tanaka. I mentioned Mr. Kawamura, Fred. I think another person I'd mention is John Kawinana. He was the athletic director when I started high school. I think he retired maybe somewhere in the middle of it or toward the latter part. But I just remember him as being a larger-than-life guy because he was physically a big guy. But he was really cared about the program, and he was old-school football. And whether this gets used or not, it's a memory that I have. So all through high school, we had the E.K. Fernandez Carnival. I guess it was in the spring, and it took up the whole front, right? The B building lawn, the other part of B building wasn't there. All through here, and even the admin building wasn't there in the early days. That got built somewhere in the middle of the high school time, and the parking lot, of course, was it. But I remember working one of the booths because at the time my athletic career revolved around being on the bowling team. I know you look at this physique and athleticism and think like he only bowled, but yeah, I was on the bowling team, and I thought actually it was pretty good because the bowling team people, you're in a controlled environment. We went to IAA Bowl. It's air conditioned, let's face it. It was really comfortable. There's a snack bar. I don't know if any other sport you can go and get fries. Right. But anyways, my point is I was on the bowling team, and as any athletic thing, you had to work one of the booths, to help out and stuff like that. And I remember doing it. And again, this doesn't even matter if it gets used or not, but so next to our booth was the malasadas. So you had that big walk with the oil and the propane thing, and I guess there was a flare-up, and the oil caught fire, and I just remember Mr. Kawinana picking up the wok, and then taking it to the edge to, I guess dump the oil out or to extinguish it, to get it away from the students that were in that booth, that tent area, and of course everyone's like, whoa, and he kind of didn't know how to react out of it. And I know some of the oil splashed up and got on his forearms, since he had some severe burns and stuff like that. But he was a person, both from the athletic side, just witnessing that of him, where he probably didn't have to do what he did, but because he thought students were in danger or in trouble, he took it upon himself, and he physically got hurt. And that was a memory that, as I think and say it, it's as if it happened yesterday, and I remember it. So
you can probably still smell the oil.
Yeah, still smell the oil. And then he was another one when I came back and started doing sideline reporting down at the high school field. By then, I think he had fully transitioned out of retired or whatever, but he had Kawinana's corner, right? The tent and everything on the old McDonald's side of the field. I guess it's like Papa's side entrance or whatever, but he had his corner, and so when he saw me, he was very warm and friendly, and I would always make sure a point when I had games here to go and say hello, shake his hand, and all that, and it was just great. And he was another one because he came in right when Milani started. Was it 74, 75 or whatever it was?
73,
And there was a handful of teachers, now that you got me going on this, there was a handful of teachers that I remembered in high school throughout it, that they were part of those people that first started. And they stayed here through all of that. Granted, 73, 74 to 88, and you look back on it like, oh, that's only 14, 15 years or whatever. But still. And then some, I think now more recently, they've all more or less retired by now. But it's pretty cool that you had this core of teachers that were younger, and I'm sure they felt a sense of pride and a different thing by being the founders, right, that came up. And so we had so many of those teachers when I was in high school that were still around, that it was just awesome. And thinking of that, speaking of people that were foundation teachers, and this is an interesting story, is that I was not good at math. That was just not my thing. Probably because I didn't like, if I sat there and I could do the work and homework, I probably would have been better and easier to do math, but that was just not my thing. So sophomore year, you hit geometry class. I have no idea if that's still the point now, because the things that you got to do for high school now are crazy. But I had Mr. Sawada for geometry. And, he was known by the students at the time is, man, he's a hard teacher as far as class. And so when you go to his class, you're gonna you have to do your work and pay attention and all the things. And if you messed up, he'd hey, you ding ding, this or that or whatever. And he was very real. And so in the moment, not being a math person, it was not one of my favorite classes. Probably because I just wasn't good at it and everything. Okay, so again, fast forward through college and everything out, and now I'm doing sports reporting, and now I'm on campus with OC16, and I had to do a story, and it might have been to interview Ma for something. So I go down to the football field, and I'm talking to Ma there. Probably, I think it was track and field time or whatever, and he was a long-time track and field coach, I believe, and he was one of the first people to see me, and then he, I don't know how far away we were, but it's some distance. He's like, "Hey, you," and it was, again, I guess he kept up through seeing me in my work and stuff like that, and we just had a great time catching up. And in my head, I'm laughing because I was like, I couldn't stand geometry, to put it bluntly. I was like, I can't stand math. I can't stand this class. Not so much him as a person, but yeah, it was what it was. But being older at the time and reconnecting, it was just great. And because I appreciate what he does as a coach and all of that, it also meant more to me in my field of work. And then from then on, like Fred, when I would see him at the campus or whatever, it was just always so awesome to catch up, talk a little bit. And when we see each other at Long's or whatever, we'd stop, and 15, 20 minutes goes by, and then it's nothing. But I think it's kind of funny that it goes from a class that I could not stand, again, not the person necessarily, but the class. And then when I see him now, it's, again, just that warmth of feelings. It's just so amazing how when you're younger and dumber and immature to having some life perspective and see it. And I think he was more proud of me and my job than I was for doing that job. For me, it's like, this is what I wanted to do. It's going to happen or whatever. But I think a person like him, Mr. K, my dad, I think they were more excited about me doing that TV reporting stuff than I was, in the sense, like, I was like, oh, it's just a job. But, I hope that, I guess one of the final thoughts I would leave is, I hope that all the teachers that I had, all the staff interactions that I had in Mililani High School, that I hope I did them good. I hope they did them proud, because that means more to me than any award that I achieved through my career or work. Is that now I think back, if I made them feel good about them being educators and the role that they played in a young kid's life, then okay, that's cool. That means more to me than anything else as far as the work that I did, because I just thought I was going to be able to do it. Like, okay, this thing worked out, but when I think back and I have these interactions and their reactions, and I think what they have in pride for people like myself, to a small extent, people like Ma'a, and other people that achieve far greater things than the sports guy, I hope that matters to them, and that's why you're an educator and everybody else does what I do. I know they don't get paid what they should be paid, but hopefully they know in hearing these types of things that they mattered, and that I think, looking back on high school, that would be the thing I hope that I pay back to them, is that.
Well, I think we've got a lot of good stuff. I appreciate your time here, Dave. And
we talked too much on probably as it was.
Well, I do want to say though, that your work with OC16 is, I think, very valued by the student athletes, the families, maybe more so than the student athletes. Everybody loves to see their kids on TV, right? And so the impact that OC16 has had on high school athletics in the state of Hawaii is profound, and it obviously goes far beyond Mililani High School. So congratulations on all the work that you've done.
I appreciate it, and I'll just leave it. It all starts right here, Mililani High School.